Well, welcome to the Man of the Law podcast. Today I'm speaking with Lana Toporek. She is an EFC instructor and also a police officer down in Austin, Texas. Kind of read through your whole bio, with the police, and it seems like you've done a lot of defensive tactics instruction. So could you give us a little background on your police history?
Yeah, I my dad was a police officer. His father was a police officer. I think I had an uncle that was a sheriff as well. And many decades back, one of my mom's relatives was a Travis County constable. Apparently, I learned that in the census not long ago. So,
Hmm.
finished college at the age of 27. I became a police officer, and you know, kind of all the rest is history. My dad told me to finish my degree first. I promised him, and I did. Went to the
Hmm.
University of Texas and really enjoyed the career. And now, so I've got close to 20 years um, and done a lot of things. I was a patrol officer. Majority of my experience is patrol, which I love very much. I've been a defensive tactics instructor. I was an FTO, a patrol corporal, sex crimes detective, and now I promoted and I'm a patrol sergeant. So plan on doing that for several years. I got about 6 years so I can retire. So I'm pretty excited.
Well, that's great. That's great. And I know you're a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So which came first, police or Jiu-Jitsu?
Well, jujitsu came after I became a police officer. I started about at the age of 33. I'd done some kind of martial arts since I was a kid. I loved martial arts. I started when I was like 11 years old, did some taekwondo, did some traditional martial arts, did kaji kempo, which is like a Hawaiian kempo spin off for a long time. Really enjoyed it. I actually I got introduced to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. The guy that was like a blue belt came into our school late 90s, early 2000s, around that time. What's funny is at the time I said I would never do jujitsu. I'm like, what is this fighting on the ground thing? And
Um,
didn't think I'd ever want to do it. I actually talked about that when I got my black belt. And so it's pretty funny, but I absolutely love jujitsu. I haven't looked back ever since I've started it.
yeah, my story is kind of similar for, the listeners that don't know me. I'm here in Chicago. I've been on patrol for 9 years now, so still working patrol on the south side of Chicago. Before that, I was in corrections. I was at the Cook County Jail. I was a correctional officer for 4 years. So that's really what got me motivated to start training. Some of the guys that I worked with at the jail were like, you got to learn some, defensive tactics. And one of the best things you could do is jujitsu. So I kind of sought out training on my own in 2011, and I just happened to find Brazil 021, where I'm still at today.
Nice.
I got my black belt 6 months ago. Andre Terencio, I don't know if you know Andre, and Hanette Stack are the owners. And so two just, fantastic people, two fantastic professors, instructors from Rio, which just happened to be 10 minutes for her. Yeah, so it worked out perfect. Yeah. Mhm. So that
Very
worked out
good.
really well. And I've been training with them ever since. And as I kind of got to my brown belt level and then was kind of introduced to more police jujitsu through EFC, I've really, kind of, just taking up the ball and really trying to promote it to police officers, especially here in Chicago, in the suburbs too, just to get them to train more and all the benefits that can come with it. And I've kind of just been reaching out to people in the industry that are kind of leading the charge in the industry and police jujitsu
Hmm.
and instructors with EFC. And I've even talked to a lot with C4PJJ also, Chad Benelli, that crew, which is also very good stuff. Um, but I got the opportunity. Jay came to Chicago last year, which was
Right.
fantastic. Yeah. So we trained at the Chicago Police Department. We did a full week there. It was fantastic. Jay and the cadre were great. I learned a ton. Um, I was already a brown belt at the time, which was good for me because, I think I really needed the skills to kind of incorporate the tactics a little easier. For me, it was a little easier. So I,
Sure.
I, I picked it up right away. And then, I'm an EFC level one instructor now and,
Hmm.
just looking forward to being part of EFC and, the whole kind of culture that goes behind it. And, they're really kind of taking off through the country, which I see is great. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, if you could talk a little bit about well, let's talk about your start in jiu-jitsu first, like kind of just starting out and how you started and because that's really, I think a lot of people have, maybe some misconceptions about what jiu-jitsu is and the benefits for police officers, especially female police officers too. And from that point of view would be great.
Okay, absolutely. I had a coworker I was at a smaller department at the time, and a coworker was doing jujitsu, and he invited me to come to the class. I had actually been feeling kind of burned out with the martial arts I was doing. Just kind of wasn't where I wanted to be anymore. Wasn't sure if I wanted to do martial arts anymore, which was a really tough thing for me to go through, like mentally,
Yeah.
because it always been part of my life, and I wasn't really sure. So I'm like, okay, let me try this place out. And I kind of thought, okay, I've done some other stuff. I'll probably pick this up pretty fast. Well, absolutely not. I went in there and just got annihilated, but I had so much fun. It was such a good time. I won't say the school I was at the time. I found a better place within 6 months. We'll just put it that way, where I'm still at today. And I just loved it. It was mentally challenging. It was physically challenging. It was different than anything else I'd ever done. It was like human chess. And I just really loved the people that were there too. And it put me in like a good mood. I mean, no matter what, I was, laughing, having a good time. I mean, if I was getting having a tap get submitted, and then within 6 months, I found Professor Robbie Rabati, who opened Team Rabati. He had just opened at the time. We were a tiny little gym. We were sharing a space with a CrossFit gym in like a barn, basically.
Mhm.
Now he has two beautiful schools, one in Georgetown, one in the Pflugerville area, which is just slightly north of Austin. And I've been with him. It'll be 15 years in July. And it's just my second family. The physical aspect's great, and it's great for controlling, suspects or whatever you have to do. It also keeps you in great shape. But I think it's just the mental aspect of it too. I can be in a bad mood, go there before work, and I'm gonna have a great day no matter what. I love it. So yeah, and I am. Yeah, we have a pretty good group of females there, but we're kind of we don't always get to train at the same time. Some of them are at Georgetown, and they're young. They're considerably younger than me. I'm in my late 40s. I'll be, I'm closer to 50 than 40. And I was the first female Robbie had to get her black belt, and it's just been really fun being part of that whole journey and everything. And then watching these younger girls come up too, and guys, just seeing, watching them start their journeys has been great too.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And yeah, I just turned 49 yesterday. So yeah, I'm right there with I'm right there with you. But for me, I think, jiu-jitsu keeps me young. If I wasn't training, I'd probably, I don't know what kind of shape I'd be in, but I'm glad I found jiu-jitsu and my training has changed as I've gotten a little older. I,
Yeah.
don't do exactly the same things, but from
Oh
the
yeah.
fundamental aspect and the work aspect, I could always take fundamentals classes and keep going.
Mhm.
And yeah, the fact that you were
For
the first
sure.
female to get your black belt from him, that's fantastic. That's awesome.
Yeah, apparently I was the first female police officer to get her black belt in the state of Texas as well. I did not know that. Ari from Invictus actually messaged me and told me that, and it
Oh,
kind of
really?
freaked me out a little. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know Ari and Jason, and Mike sent me a message. Yeah, and I was like, "Am I?" He was like, "Well, I can't think of anyone else." So it was kind of my friend Myra Cavazos. She works in a suburb of Houston. She was the second one to get hers, and she had messaged me as well. And I'm like, "There's no way that's true. There's no way that's true."
Hey,
It was this whole kind of freaked me out at first, but it was kind of cool. But,
yeah, no, that's good. You're leading the charge. That's fantastic.
uh,
Yeah.
trying.
And that actually leads me to one of my questions, which was, could you talk a little bit about the changes or advancements in, jujitsu has gone through over the years, especially for females, like since you've been in the last 15 years?
Sure. I've definitely see more women just trying it out.
Mhm.
I think they're, um, you know, you see more women like, Fionn Davies, for example. You see these women that are in the spotlight more and are, doing big tournaments, winning big tournaments. And she's such a great role model. You didn't see anything like that before. Also with women's MMA, people like Ronda Rousey,
Mhm.
coming out and kind of leading that whole charge in UFC. And there's so many like famous women fighters now, and I think a lot of young girls and even older gals are like, hey, let me try this out. This looks really fun. And we have also organizations like Girls and Geese, which is I think they do teach all over the world. It'll be these like weekend or Saturday things where like all women train together and say like, hey, look, this is fun. Even if you don't train, look how much fun this is. And some of them, they get bit by the bug and they keep training. And it's not like I remember being like the only girl like for so long. And I didn't mind it, but it is really nice that you're not the only one anymore. That's not going to happen like it used to back in the day. So I think the internet and social media has helped with that exposure as well. It's saying that it's something very accessible for everybody.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I agree. And I train with Hanette Stack, and then there's other females at our school too. And some of my toughest training partners are my female training partners. They're great standing. So it's jujitsu evens the playing field. There's no doubt about it.
absolutely.
You know.
Yeah. Physics and angles. So
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's why, that's one of the great things I think about jujitsu. But I also teach fundamentals class, and sometimes there might be one woman, or if there's two women, fantastic, they could roll together. But I do talk to some females, and if it's a bunch of guys that are really heavy, or really outweigh them by a lot, it can be difficult for women to
sure.
really
For sure.
keep coming back to class when it's like I don't really have a solid training partner to go with. So I definitely understand that. Yeah.
Oh, for sure, for sure. We even there's a school here in town that does, every year they even do like a Valentine's Jiu-Jitsu open mat for women, like the day before Valentine's, and it's gotten super popular. It's almost like no room in the parking lot now, which I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And like where I train, the fundamentals classes are, very kind of, I wouldn't say old school, but traditional. The fundamentals is a big part of it, and the self-defense is a big part of it too. So
Very big.
so I always promote it for men and women that just basic fundamental jujitsu can make a big difference. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your EFC instructing.
Mhm.
When did that start?
Okay. Right after I got my black belt, Jay sent me a message, and I'd met him in passing at some point. He said, "Hey," kind of talked to me for a little bit through Messenger, and asked if I wanted to come and kind of like audit one of the Fort Worth classes and see if I liked it and if I wanted to work for the company that he'd love to have me. And I went up and did the class, and the rest is history. I really enjoyed it, and that was so almost be like 2.5 years, I guess now. I've been working for him, so it's been great. I've gotten to help with those bigger classes. I go do the lunch rolls when they're here at the DPS Training Academy. We do a women's only course that we did last year. It was the inaugural course that Round Arc PD hosted. We're actually doing it again this year at the same place.
Okay.
Had some good turnout. I'm going to be teaching the new Raffles course this year. Just kind of like, building from there, made some great networking through it, get to meet people like yourself, made some really good friends in the North Texas area. North Texas is fantastic. If you ever come down, there's so many places to grapple there. There's so many EFC instructors up there too. So, but yeah.
Austin has become like a mecca for jiu-jitsu now too. There's a ton of jiu-jitsus in Austin. Yeah.
Yes, it is absolutely. We have Gordon Ryan, we have P-Team, we have Sanji Cabero, we have all those, and I could go on. But yeah, I just kind of, keep in communication with Jay and help, tell people about the classes. And I just I really like the way he does his curriculum. I like that it's concept based. I like that it's accessible for everyone, even if you're from a white belt to a black belt, or if you've never trained.
Yeah.
It's accessible. It has building blocks. Everything makes sense together. And just the whole culture of the thing, trying to change the culture where this is a mandatory thing that everybody does, and set some type of standard, because the standard is not good right now.
Right.
It definitely needs to be better.
Right. Absolutely. And some of the misconceptions I think people have with jiu-jitsu, I always tell them, well, look into effective fitness combatives and, take a class, take a course, look into that. Cause, if you don't know, if you're a police officer watching this now and you don't know what effective fitness combatives is, it's really a jujitsu grappling based system, geared especially for law enforcement in
Yeah.
exactly what we do on the street. And Jay and Adam really have kind of taken all the best concepts and the ideas of street situations, which there's always a weapon involved, including our own,
Yes.
and kind of the best ways to control and handle people on the streets safely. And when I took a system, it was a real eye opener. I'd been training for over 10 years and I learned a ton, and I'm still, still training all the time. And the big thing with them too is they just explain to you, this is why we do this and this is why we don't. Yeah. Yes, this might work in sports jujitsu, but we don't do that because of A, B, and C on the street. That could be a problem. And when they really explain it that way, it just really makes sense. And when you kind of take a deep dive into the system, it all kind of works together, with the body lock takedowns, the 2-on-1s and all that stuff. And just yeah. So I'm a big fan. I love training it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big fan. And I think they are kind of, setting a standard in the industry, and because that's really what you need. You really need to, start teaching recruits in the academy,
Yes.
a program like Effective Fitness Combatives, which also works on team tactics, which is huge, because a lot of times what happens on the street, even if you have one person that's trained, if nobody else is, people are doing all kinds of different stuff. So if we have
Push pull going on.
exactly right, we've all been there. And so if we're all trained in the same system, and then, I've got a Friday night class, and like on Friday nights, I'm a big believer in continuous training over and over again. And, weekly training, outside of the department, in a jujitsu gym. So I think it's going to make the difference. I think it's early days,
I
but
do too.
I really think, police departments around the country are really making that connection with, jujitsu grappling based arts. It's not, it's not MMA, it's not UFC. There is a difference. So yeah, I think it's early days, but it's I'm really,
Yeah.
proud to be a part of it and happy to be a part of
Me
it.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited for it, and I see people, coming into it that maybe never thought they would do it or could do those things, and then they're successful in using the techniques. And then we can explain to them too, everything's pressure tested. If they do have those questions, we can show them that it does work in real time. So I think that's just fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and the system itself is fantastic. So what would you say, like what's, kind of the most rewarding part of what you're doing right now as far as the jujitsu goes?
Mhm. Well, personally, just for myself, like I said, I love the fitness aspect of it. I love the confidence it gives me, if I do have to handle a suspect. And, as a patrol sergeant, yeah, I mean, I'm still out there. It's probably less likely I'm going to do it, but you never know.
Yeah, you're back on the street, so yeah.
I'm still out there.
Yeah.
We could, but uh, it, I think it's a lot of it, what it does for my mental health and my well-being, like overall well-being, physical, emotional, and mental. Like I've said before, even if I'm not in a good mood, I work the second shift, I work evenings, so I typically go to our noon class, and I do that before I go to work, and it helps with everything, my outlook, and get some of that anger out or whatever, and then by the end of it, I'm laughing, I'm having a good time with my friends. It also reminds me that not everyone is a cop or a suspect. There are different people in the world.
Yeah.
So it keeps me having friends that are not law enforcement.
Yeah.
Even though there are a lot of cops I train with. And it reminds me that there are wonderful, exceptional human beings out in the world, everywhere and every day. And it gives me perspective, and it keeps me humble, and lets me remember that. As far as outside of myself, it makes me very excited, like you said, that I get to be part of this movement, that we're getting, these officers are going to be safer and better trained and hopefully healthier than any of us were when we started. Because the job does not exactly teach you how to take care of yourself. In fact, I feel like it gives you, it almost makes you have bad, poor health habits.
Yes. Especially working midnight shift. Yeah.
Yes, you know, you
Mhm.
eat bad, you drink too much, you're
Yeah.
angry, all these things.
You're eating 7-Eleven at 3 in the morning. I know. Yeah.
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 Or you're like, oh, I'll rise to the occasion. It doesn't matter. I don't need to train, and that's all garbage. We know that's not true.
Mhm.
If we can get these guys training and give them, positive role models to look up to, and show them that it's not this great huge mountain to climb up of. It's not that you have to get all the way up there. It's a marathon. It's a slow build to the top.
Mhm.
And even once you get there, there's still all these things you can learn.
Yeah.
Black belt was starting over again. It's so cool.
Mhm.
But I hope that it inspires this younger generation of police officers to, be better than any of us were, be better than any of us were when we trained. They're going to have these skills, and then they're going to be able to pass it on to the next generations as people like myself retire. And hopefully, as long as my body will let me, keep working for EFC and everything. But that's what excites me most about it, apart from myself.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And we don't talk a ton about the mental health aspect, I know. But police officers, our suicide rate, I think, is, 50% higher than the general public. Our obesity rates are through the roof too, so that's part of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the job doesn't lend itself. You really have to be proactive in seeking it out, and it's not easy. I started jujitsu at 35. I thought I was in pretty good shape, and I wasn't. I definitely wasn't in any kind of grappling shape. I know that. So, luckily, nothing serious happened on the street because I probably would have been gassed out in 30 seconds. And
Yeah.
so that's the thing jujitsu does. And being a police officer brought me to jujitsu, but I'd like to think that if I wasn't the police, I'd still be training, and I always walk out of there feeling fantastic. I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't know exactly how it works, but whether it's that steam release of just kind of letting go of all the stuff during the day, and just that kind of outlet to have. You're around other people that aren't police. You don't have to talk about police stuff. And in our gym, it's like, no politics, no police stuff. It's just,
Okay.
we're just all people from just different, walks of life. And we're just in there having fun training jujitsu. And, you could have a lawyer that makes, 300 an hour, and a beat cop like me training on the same mat. And, we're not talking about
Yeah.
work, we're just training,
Yeah.
and we enjoy it.
Training.
Yeah. And we walk out of there, talking jujitsu, and we're happy. And so it definitely does make a difference there. And
Yes.
and then you talked about training police officers, and my class is still pretty small now, but I can see and even training fundamental jujitsu, if I could see somebody get their blue belt, I'm like, fantastic, I did my job. If I could take them for a year and a half, and then they can get their blue belt and they're still training, that makes me happy. I've had my black belt for 6 months. I'm not teaching crazy barambolas and all this other stuff, but I can teach you fundamentals. Yeah, and I can get you to your blue belt, and for me, that's huge, just to see somebody go through the process, and that couldn't shrimp or fall, break fall or technical stand up, and now they're got their blue belt and they're on their way. So, and then with the law enforcement officers, I've never really had anyone say a bad thing about our Friday night class or training jujitsu. And most of the time, I get them into the Friday night class, and then they take the law enforcement, and then they really get interested in jujitsu, and they end up signing up for fundamental jujitsu on their own. And just to, that I could be part of that, just to kind of push them in the right direction towards jujitsu.
For sure.
And always see them happy and training, and be like, man, I'm so glad I found jujitsu, and I really enjoy it. And yeah, that for me is, that makes all the difference in the world. Yeah. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a good feeling.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because I mean, it's, police officers are kind of a tough nut to crack. I've probably done, all kinds of promoting, with the officers I work with. And, but it's, some just don't want to train, and I get it, and
Yeah.
a lot of it's a morale issue too. They don't want to think about work or do anything with work. But jujitsu, you're kind of doing it for work, but there's a lot of other, benefits and things that come along with it that have nothing to do with your job either.
For sure. I always say that one thing, although, yeah, I mean, I take training very seriously when I do it, but I also like to have fun. And I tell
Mhm.
people, I was like, if you just let me show you how much fun this can be,
Yeah.
everything else will fall into place, whether you like it or not. You're going to learn something.
Mhm.
But if I can show you how much fun this can be, please just give me a chance to show you how much fun it can
Yeah,
be.
exactly.
And that's kind of how I sell it to some people who do. And I will say there is a whole evening shift in my department. One of the evenings, just the entire shift trains, and I'm so proud of them.
Oh, that's
So there's
awesome.
actually there's a jiu-jitsu school like right by the substation, and they all go. So it's really really cool to see that.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's great. And how is EFC in Texas? Is it still pretty big with the departments down there?
Yes, especially the North Texas area. I think the Arlington, Fort Worth, Dallas area has classes. I want to say every year. DPS in Austin hosts a class every year. This year we're doing one in New Braunfels, which is a little bit south. Like close to San Antonio. If you're familiar with the way Texas is, just kind of straight down I-35.
Hmm.
It's about an hour and a half south of Austin. But these are becoming like regular classes. And like I said, now Round Rock Police has become kind of the host for the women's course, which we're trying to grow and make bigger. Um, where else? I think I don't remember if he's done one in Houston or not, but it definitely is growing here because Texas, like I said, the North Texas area, the Austin area, we just kind of become this mecca of jujitsu.
Hmm.
And so many people train, and it's so awesome to see that. So I assume it's only going to grow. And my department sent a couple of their DT instructors through one of Jay's courses in Arlington, and they're also hooked up with C4C as well. Everybody still plays really well together.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody's friends, and I think they're going to send some more to the New Braunfels course. So that's really cool. So everybody's kind of getting to train together and exchange ideas, and just make everybody better.
Yeah, and that's one thing I have noticed about the law enforcement community in general, because I've talked to Chad Lyman and a ton of guys with C4, CPJJ, and it's a great system. It's fantastic. But
Yeah.
EFC came to Chicago first, and I got to take their training.
Right.
So I'm like, well, they're here. I got to take it, and become a certified instructor. So I was eager and happy to do that too.
Yeah.
But I think we're all kind of on the same mission. It's to bring fundamental jujitsu and good grappling skills and in these things to law enforcement officers and try and change the culture and change a lot of the misconceptions of it too.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, if brand new officer just starting training, what would you tell them? If they had some misconceptions or really don't understand what it is, what would you tell them?
Well, I mean, first of all, when you do go through our academy, you will be doing jujitsu whether you want to or not as a cadet, because our DT program is jujitsu based as well. We're lucky enough to have, I think, 3 black belts on cadre right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they're going to do it. Some of them almost look at it as a punishment. I think I would take those ones that say have even negative look at it and tell them to try again. Try again where you're not at the academy and you're a cadet and everything's terrible.
Yeah.
It's just you kind of got that your mind kind of turned around there because you're a cadet. Go to a school, see what it's like, try a trial class. I've got mats in my garage. Come over here, we can grapple. Or come to my school. Find a school you like. Find the place that works for you. There's so many places to try. And again, if you go with that mentality that like, you know what, I'm just going to relax and have fun, you're going to learn something whether you like it or not. And it's going to get you in the best shape of your life. It's also going to be a tool. It's not going to feel like work when you're doing it, but it's going to give you a tool that you absolutely must have for this job. And kind of on maybe I'd also tell them like there just isn't an excuse for training. I used to tell the cadets when I worked out there, you no longer have an excuse to be overweight. You no longer have an excuse to not know how to control a suspect.
Yeah.
You must do these things. You also must learn to be a better shot. You must be all these things. You don't have the right to be lazy anymore. You have to make yourself a better person. Yeah, I wish the departments would pay for all of this and do all this training for us. But no matter, like, you work at a big department, I work at a big department. It just doesn't happen.
No.
It doesn't happen.
Yes.
And just try to get them to, something that it's not only good for your job, but it's so positive in your life. If you can just kind of go in there, let go of your ego, just have a good time and just see what happens. I think that's how I present it to them.
Yeah,
Um,
no, very, very well said. Yeah. And you talked, yeah, a big part of it, I think, too, is, people say time and money. One, you got to make the time. We're all busy. We all have families. We all have stuff we can, but you have to make the time. You have to carve out some time in the week, whether it's one day, even 2 days. I've seen officers that just come one day a week, just to the Friday night class, and they've been tremendously. In over 6 months, a year, they're really picking it up, and all they do is come to one class, but they do it consistently, and
Yeah.
it really made a difference. And as far as the money goes, like, we're making enough money, and it's an investment
Yeah.
in yourself, on not just for the job, but your mental health, your physical health, and your well-being in general. So it's a small, investment, I think. And most places give
Very much so.
really big discounts, especially here in Chicago. Like, we give a huge law enforcement discount. All our all our GEs, no GE stuff, all law enforcement stuff is, super discounted, and our class rates are real reasonable for police officers, and we work with them
That's
pretty
great.
well. So yeah, no excuses, go train.
Hmm. Well, in our department, we started a program, and it's done. It's really taken off. We have a program where you can get 2 hours of overtime and 2 hours of comp time every month if you fill up. It's like this little it's like this little form you fill out. You take a picture when you're at your school, and there's a list of approved gyms throughout town, which there's so many to pick
Yeah.
from. And basically it pays for itself. So there really is an excuse now with our department. Other departments are kind of looking at the model. I think it's great. It's almost like paying us to do it, if you want to look at it that way. So it really is.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think departments are starting to come around to that too. We get paid for our, like, 1 year physical fitness test, which really isn't enough, but yeah.
At least you do it. We don't do it at all.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We have it yearly, and it's voluntary, but you get paid for it, and
Nice.
the check usually comes on December 1st, because so everybody says it's like their Christmas money. And but yeah, to be paying officers to train, and train jujitsu is fantastic, and it's good to see, other departments, stepping up and starting to do that. But I believe you gotta seek it out on your own.
You do. You do.
There's only, so much the department's going to do, especially larger departments, and it's definitely an investment in yourself. Yeah.
For sure. For sure. And there's so many benefits. Yeah. It's great for the job, but the other benefits, I think, like I said, I just go on and on about what it's done for my life, the person it's made me, and all those things. I even remember when I first started dating my husband. I've been with him 25 years, but on our second date, I told him, I do martial arts, and if you ever ask me to stop, I'm going to dump you. So he's never asked me to stop. He's very supportive.
Yeah.
And here we are 25 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife definitely supports my
That's
jiu-jitsu
great.
career. She knows that it's good for me, and I need it. And so I have my nights where I go, and she's like, all right, do your jiu-jitsu. And she's big. She's big into yoga. So I actually did a yoga.
Yeah.
I did a yoga retreat with her
Nice.
2 weeks ago, and did some yoga. I even put that on my Instagram. So
Check that out.
yeah,
So
my hips feel better. My low back feels much better too. So 1 week of yoga really helped the nagging jujitsu injuries.
oh yeah, I do it like once a week. I've done it off and on for probably 20 years, but I still do it like once a week, and it definitely. And I lift and swim and run and stuff too, but I think the yoga's helped me not get catastrophically injured.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm hoping. Keeps
yeah,
my joints flexible.
absolutely. Yeah, I was a little hesitant at first, but just like anything else, you're going to be the new person in there starting
Yep.
out, and but I jumped right in with 2 feet, and I enjoyed it, and I had a good week of yoga, and definitely feel better on the mat. So that's what, yeah,
Good recovery. Very good
Yeah.
recovery.
yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
So yeah, as part of your routine, are you still teaching like regular jujitsu also?
I really don't right now. Just most of the EFC stuff, and sometimes I have the law enforcement guys that I do train with at Team Body. Sometimes we do a little thing, and I'll do some EFC stuff and show them. One of them now that was regularly coming when I was doing that, there was a robbery detective, so he's very busy. I warned him. He came off the SWAT team he promotes to detective, and he's like, "Oh, I don't have to be on call." I was like, "Well, now you're going to robbery. You're starting that life all over, bro."
Yeah.
So, and just with me working second shift as a patrol sergeant, our schedule rotates, so it's a
Yeah.
little difficult to pin down anything where I can do something on the regular. So for right now, I'm not teaching, and it's not like I won't do it again in the future. I have before. I actually taught our Muay Thai curriculum for a while at our gym, and then I did have some jujitsu I was doing, but little break on that right now. Just kind of focusing on the EFC stuff when I've got it.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I saw there's another women's only seminar coming up.
Yes, it's going to be in November 17th. It's going to be hosted by the Round Rock Police Department. So it'll be that Monday through Thursday. Yeah, so we're going to, I think Jay's put the stuff out. I think I've had something on my Instagram about it. I've also got a link up for the new Broncos course as well.
Oh, great, great. And who are the other EFC female instructors that are going to be there? Or is it just going to be ours?
I know, I believe Jade Shealy's coming back, and Anastasia Moore, possibly a young lady named Brooke. I haven't met Brooke yet.
Oh, I trained with
But
Brooke. Yeah.
okay. She was at the Chicago one, so she
Yeah.
may be coming. So it's going to be we're the four female instructors that he has right now. So it's going to be me and a mix of whoever else is able to come. So
No, yeah, that's a good crew right there. Absolutely.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, because
Jay,
I reached out to Jade Shealy too. Yeah, because I saw her profile and stuff, and she's still doing MMA and working, and
yes,
awesome.
she's amazing,
Yeah.
so amazing. What an incredible human being. I got to hang out with her quite a bit last time she was here. A really cool person. So I'm excited to see her again. I hope she can make it down.
Yeah.
So
And Brooke was one of the instructors, one of the part of the cadre up here in Chicago. She came to Chicago, and yeah, really great, really knew her stuff, and a really great instructor. Yeah, had a really good week with Brooke, and yeah, she knows her stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, very cool. So yeah, it'll be fun. We had a blast last year, so looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah. So do you think, in general, do you think female officers gravitate a little more to a female only instruction?
And no, I think it makes it for some of them. I think it makes it like less intimidating.
Sure.
Initially, I think some women have a thought like, oh, all the guys are going to be bigger and stronger than me, and I don't want to get hurt. So it's a little more. There might be a little more of a comfort level coming in where it's all females. I think, and I tell them it's important to grapple with men though, because that's who you're mostly going to be dealing with on the street, your suspects. And then I'm 5'9", about 175. I'm a big, strong woman, so I'm, usually bigger than everybody else.
Right.
With all females, so it's good for them to grapple with me. But I said I'm still not what you have to worry about necessarily.
Right.
But it kind of gives them some perspective, and maybe if it's not scary to grapple with me, then they'll be more likely to kind of go into class where there's men and women. I've never really felt uncomfortable training with men, but that's just me. And I know maybe I'm not the norm, because when I did martial arts, that was the only option.
Sure.
When I started it, there weren't other females really doing anything. But I think the women's courses, like I said, there's more of that comfort level, especially maybe you've had sometimes issues with like personal space, or like don't want to be touched.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a little more brings that comfort level, and it's still really intense training. You're going to have, us instructors, like you have like Jade, who fights professional MMA. Those lunch rounds are going to be intense no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But it shows them like, oh, okay, I can do this. And what I did last year, I had some of the Round Rock PD cadre come in during the lunch rolls, and they are guys. And so they kind of got, comfortable with that. So we had them come in at the lunch rolls were men and women. So I plan on doing that again this year. But I do think it makes it a little more approachable in the beginning for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's got to be, some comfort level in the beginning when you're first starting out. Absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, even as a male, there's always going to be somebody bigger and tougher on the mats. And, so, and for me, sometimes there's females, I train with Annette Stack, and I've never been able to tap her, and probably won't ever be able to tap her, but because she's tough. And Yeah, so I definitely see the power of jujitsu when
Mhm.
we have another female too. She's maybe 115 pounds. And ever since I've started with her, she's going to either armbar, guillotine, or triangle. And I know what she's going to do. I know what she's
Mhm.
going to do. And she still
You
catches me.
can't stop.
Yeah, she's catches me every time. I'm like, I know exactly what you're going to do. And she's like, well, it's like, pick one of the three because I'm going to get you one way or the other. And
Right.
that's just the power of jujitsu. And
Mhm.
but I think a lot of people, that either they realize how powerful jujitsu is and they keep coming back, or they get that kind of hit to the ego and go like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be like humiliated or,
Mhm.
somebody's tougher than me. And they,
Absolutely.
and it might be, a police officer thing too with ego.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, the men and women, definitely have egos. I see that like only in men and women sometimes, like, oh, I want to back me. I'll tell a quick story. Like when I came to Team Body, there was, how old was he at the time? This 13-year-old, was he 13? I think 12 or 13. This kid, pretty big kid. And I just remember like, man, this kid's so good. He annihilated me. Well, that kid is William Tackett, who's in his 20s. William and Andrew Tackett used to train.
Yeah.
So hi, William and Andrew, if you watch this.
Hmm.
William and Andrew Tackett trained at our gym when they were kids, and I just remember like even when he was 13, I couldn't do anything to William Tackett, so it was a good check for my ego. And now seeing who he has become, who Andrew has become, but even when they were children, yeah, not really, not much we could do to them. So, but they training with them made me better. Training with them made me better, and they're amazing young men, and they're doing crazy, amazing things in the professional jiu-jitsu world now, and it's just really cool to see that. So, but yeah, so I got tapped by a 13-year-old William Tackett. So that's a 30-something year old woman. So
Yeah, that
but,
just shows the power of jujitsu right there too. And
yeah.
there's we have a young, well, he's not young anymore, but he was, when I first started training with him, he was a purple belt. And
Mm-hmm.
he came from a small island in Brazil and came up here to the United States and started training. So I think he was like 17 at the time. And, I was in my late 30s. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this kid would destroy me like
Yeah.
nonstop. He's a purple belt, but he is probably training 3 times a day, coming straight from Rio de Janeiro, and I'm like, wow. So there's definitely levels to it.
So, and we have some guys. We have one blue belt. He just got his blue belt. He's a black belt in judo. He's been a judo black belt since 2012. We have another guy who's in his 30s. He's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, but he's been wrestling since he was 4 years old.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
a whole different. Yeah, it's so fun to train with them.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. Yeah. And you're going to get all kinds of people like that. But I always, say like, all the losses on the mats are, just learning experiences and probably just make me tougher for that battle I might have to face,
Sure.
on the street. And
Mm-hmm.
we have one guy's like 275, I think, and he's like 6'2", and we train with him. And yeah, he smashes me. Of course he does. But I love going against the guy like that to feel the size, to feel the strength, to feel the pressure. And you're gonna know you're gonna get smashed, but I kind of look at it as a fun challenge and be like, all right, let's see what I can do today. Let's see if I can stay on top for a little bit and not get stuck in his side control. And
Sure.
it doesn't have to be this disaster. You make it
Right.
yeah, exactly.
What's the little victories, right? If you can maybe shrimp out from under somebody or like get up, or maybe they don't tap you with the first thing they try. And like some of there's levels to black belt as well. It's not like all of a sudden, like I told somebody, so it's not like I got the book of secrets when I got the belt, right? It's like you start all over. It's like an empty, like, oh no. One of my coaches, Kevin, was a professional fighter, and he's like 5'8", 160 pounds, fought at like 135, and going against him, like we were either practicing MMA together. When I rolled him, he's just so good.
Mhm.
He's even a professional athlete. And the days I've told him before, the days that we've had hard rounds together and he's just eating my lunch, right? Those are the days that I'm actually getting better. It's not the days when I'm subbing everybody in the gym.
Right.
So those rounds where I have to be on my toes and pay attention to what I'm doing, rolling with somebody much better than me, is the days. Those are the days that are going to save my life. It's those days.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Where you push through and grind through and, the days where you're, not feeling it, you're not 100%, or you got some nagging injuries, but you're still training anyways. Yeah, those are the things that definitely make the difference. Yeah, absolutely.
sure, for sure.
And, even when you're losing in jujitsu, most of the time, like the people we're going against on the street are, unskilled and untrained. And so if you have some basic jujitsu experience,
Oh yeah,
your odds of winning that battle, tremendously increase tremendously.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're usually on some kind of substance as well, so they're not thinking straight. So
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And, but it's like anything else. You're not just going to figure it out in the moment. It's like anything else. You need to train it. You need to train it consistently. And, otherwise, you're not going to just figure it out in the moment on what to do. So that's why I'm a
no, that
big proponent of consistent training. Yeah.
for sure is that whole rising to the occasion. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. You fall to your level of training. So always.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree.
Hmm.
And there's a reason they do the repetition over and over, and we train over and over and do these things. And I like how Jay does it too when he pressure tests it, because I've started wearing my duty belt and training more, and we do train with the vest, and the difference that makes, because whenever I'm in mountain jiu-jitsu, I turn to my side and I shrimp out and I have my escape. But once I got my duty belt on and we were training in the gym, we were in mount, we had the gloves on, punching, and I was like, I can't turn to my side. I've got the holster here,
The belt.
taser holster here. I was like, I have to just go straight back or just bridge and roll. So it's good to train with your equipment on too, because it really does make a difference, and you feel what you can do and what you can't do, and you need to adjust and make those differences. So yeah.
For sure.
That was a big part of it. I like that. And I like that pressure testing of it too. Not just like we're going to go through it slowly. Yes, you're going to learn it, but also we're going to pressure test this. We're going to, put it to the test, and you're going to have to, physically do these things, while you're under, maybe 60, 70%, going. And
Mhm.
so I really enjoyed that about the training, because you really find out like what worked, what didn't work, and, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing that, or maybe I should do this, or something you do in sports jiu-jitsu where you're like, man, that does not work. I have to do totally something else. So yeah.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, it makes a huge difference with your stuff on. And you can't. You're not as mobile. You can't move as well. It's heavy. It's hot. Can't breathe.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
So no, that's great. And yeah, so I'm not going to take up all your time, but I'm definitely, I'm reaching out to, people in the industry, kind of leading the charge. I definitely want to talk to, some more female police officers too, kind of leading the charge and getting, females into train. Chicago, we have a large department. We have a lot of female officers. And I think there's a big opportunity for female officers, to train, fundamental jujitsu and effective fitness combatives. And I think it could, make a tremendous difference. So I definitely wanted to start reaching out to, people like yourself, people leading in the industry that have been doing this a long time and can really, tout the benefits of, jujitsu and effective fitness combatives. So just before we go, so any advice to that brand new officer that doesn't know jujitsu, doesn't know anything, and they just started out, just, what would be your advice, going forward in training?
go find a school. If you got do the trial program, whatever it is that you got to train, you have to train. It's not an option. You're gonna find a school that you like. Even if you start out just kind of messing around in the garage with your friends, just the stuff you learn in the academy, but build from there. Be the example. Show other officers how they're supposed to be. It's not only gonna help you at work, but it's gonna help you just in your regular life too. So go train. That would be my advice.
Yeah, no, great advice, and thank you very much. And that's kind of why I started the Instagram and the YouTube too, and just said, you know what, I'm not gonna promote it. I won't talk to you to death. I don't get up at roll call and say, hey, you guys got to go train and all this. But I just, I just tell people, hey, check out my Instagram page. Take a look, and I'm 49 years old. I've been training for over 10 years. I'm an active police officer doing the same job,
Yep.
living kind of the same life you are. So there's, I'm not anything special, anything extraordinary.
Right.
The fact that I got a a black belt in jiu-jitsu was just pure kind of consistency and determination.
Right.
Because
We made
I'm
a
not
joke.
super talented, believe me.
Yeah. I have discipline over talent. I am not
Yeah.
talented. I'm kind of a big clumsy doofus. But I'm strong and
Yeah.
disciplined. We always made a joke at jiu-jitsu, like if you keep showing up, you're just gonna get your black belt. I remember when Robbie told me it was time, and I blurted out no.
Right.
He said,
Like, I'm not ready for that. Yeah. Right. I bet. Right.
I said, what if I don't ship you? So I'll come to work and find you. I'll give it to you at work. I'll embarrass you. So
Yeah.
that was just pretty funny. But yeah, if you keep showing up, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You're gonna get better, even if whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
So.
And most of us
Yeah.
kind of have that, personality trait of like, we always think we're, not doing good enough. And, but if you look back on where you started, obviously you've gotten a lot better, but, we're kind of usually our harshest critics,
100%. But I know 47-year-old me could beat up 21-year-old me, no problem though.
Oh yeah, I agree. Me too.
Yeah.
I would annihilate my younger self. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for taking the time. And, I just wanted to reach out and, saw what you were doing with the EFC, and I think that's fantastic and, great.
Well, what you're doing is great too. I'm glad you have those resources up. I'm glad you went to the class. And
Yeah.
it's great being able to meet people like yourself in this that are leading that charge. So it's awesome.
Yeah, it's been fantastic for me too, because I've been reaching out to people, and anybody really doing police jiu-jitsu has been like, yeah, sure, I'll talk. That's fantastic. So get on my little podcast, and but yeah, much appreciated, and all the best of luck to you. And yeah, if you ever need anything in Chicago, or anything with the EFC going on, please let me know, and please keep it in the loop. So yeah, very nice.
Yeah. You too.